we live a racketeering world, basically.
Yeah.
Like everything is corrupted in that the British Mountaineering Council was getting funding from the Sports Council, and they would demand a certain degree of, and that seeps into everything. They'll employ someone, and their job is, is to get more minorities, and I was recently in the UK. I was touring around the UK. I was like on the stage talking about my stuff, and I was driving through the Peak District, and there was literally like maybe about 20 Somali women, maybe middle-aged women, with two like mountain guides, basically just walking along the road, and the mountain guides are all dressed in their, mountain guide kind of outfits, and these Somali women were all just dressed like Somali women. And I was like, why is this funding being given to these two people to basically bust these people up from Sheffield to walk along the road and say, look, here is the outdoors, please, you'll make us feel so much better if you start coming out here, when money should be going to like the school in Sheffield, where you've got a mixed, multicultural kids who really, they're the people you should be taking to the outdoors. And maybe 1% of them will think, oh, this is kind of good.
Yeah.
But it's this kind of very middle class. Like I was in New Zealand, you're in this Queenstown. It's like, it's like being in some futuristic, town, and it's like beautiful. Everyone's fit and everyone's happy, and we're sitting there, and it's like mountains there. And the woman, the completely lovely woman, was sitting there, and she's like, the only problem with it is there's no diversity. And it's kind of like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah. Like, give people some credit. Like, have you ever actually talked to someone who is Black or Asian? Like, like I lived in Kuwait for a while, and every day I would walk along the front of where the water is, where the US Navy SEALs probably popped out, and there'd be all these Indians and Bangladeshis all playing cricket. And I said, like, if I went home and wrote this big diatribe about how racist they were and how they made me feel not like one of them, no one ever said to me, oh, you come over here, do you want to play cricket with us? But it's not like, life's not like that. Like, it's a mountain. Like, you can go out there, go walking if you want, and this, like, even in the government published material about this diversity in the outdoors, it was, they took some minorities out to the outdoors, and they said how they were made to feel very unwelcome, and people looked at them like, what are you doing here? But if you ever go up on a mountain, there's loads of Indian, like Indian people like mountain, like walking and this kind of stuff. And there's, so there's, admittedly, there's not many Black people walking or climbing in the mountains, but that has nothing. They're probably doing something else. They're probably into football or something else. And there's not many working class people either. So there's a class thing in that most, it's just not what people, they're basically throwing money at something that's not the problem. That it's really, you don't want to be getting more people going into the mountains or into the countryside. Like, that's why it's the countryside. It's like, let's get everyone who lives in the urban centers to go and live in the Lake District. That's not what you want, really.
No, it's not. It's totally not. No, and yet you can't say this unless you're on you've got a kind of career death wish like you have, and probably.
but you hope in the end that people will snap out of it, if you know what I mean. Like, I always have this joke, like in Ireland, Ireland is basically, everyone is, it's not multiracial, but it is multicultural. There's lots of Poles and Latvians, and there's a slight increase in people coming up from Africa now to Ireland. So you'll have this thing in the media where they'll be like, Ireland is a racist country, and they'll say like, oh, this, and have someone from Nigeria saying, like, oh, I was walking down the street and in the dark and some Irish guy stopped me and said like, oh, I couldn't see you because you're Black. And then they'll have someone whose parents are Nigerian, but they're born in Dublin, saying, oh, people always say to me, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Dublin. And so I have this joke where I say that, like, wherever you go in the world, everyone asks you, where are you from? Where are you from? Like, literally, you ask a million times, where are you from? It's not racist, it's like a human thing. So I always have this joke that when I was in Kenya, if everyone ever asked me where I was from, I'd always say like, I was born here, you racist. So, but no one ever got it. But this, and the same as if you're driving in Africa in the dark, it's actually quite hard to see people have dark skin. Like, it's not being racist. It's actually a manifestation of human kindness, of saying, oh, be really careful in the dark on these Irish roads. There's no street lights. Like, I could have knocked you over. Like here where I am, we have to walk around with a high vis on at night because there's no street lights. So it's this, a lot of these things are a manifestation of a human thing that's being twisted into something that's toxic or negative. Like when I was in Namibia, and my wife's got really crazy hair, and this little girl was wanting to touch her hair, and I, for a joke, I was like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. That's racist." You know, I'll just tell you, little, you know, Namibian girl, that's racist to touch someone's hair. And then I was in this hot tub. I was in the hot tub in America somewhere, and there was a black woman in the hot tub with me, like in the desert, like a natural spring, and she had like curly hair. And I was telling her this story about being in Namibia and the hair, and she was like, "Oh, well, my sister's got really curly hair, and people often want to touch it, and I think it's racist." And I said, "Well, I've got a friend who's Norwegian who's got red hair that's like an afro, and people always come and touch his hair, and I don't think that's racist, and that's because people are just naturally drawn to want to touch something like that." And this woman's eyes, you could see like her brain was trying to comprehend what I was saying, but you couldn't do it. And I was like, it's kind of really sad.